Well, for me this is absolutely one of my favourite flowers in the garden. Hello everyone, summer is really upon us and I thought I'd do a little video where I take you basically around the garden, not do a garden tour, but show you basically what's flowering now. It is the last week of June, so we're just in that kind of early to midsummer period. It's been quite mild, so you might find that things are flowering earlier than usual. So this is a chance to see what is actually flowering in a British garden at this time of year. I wanted this little area up like a meadow, and it's starting to show. This is Verbena rigida. I just leave this in the ground. It is in a sheltered position and it doesn't normally get so wet here, so it manages to overwinter quite well. Depending on your garden, you might want to bring this to a sheltered spot. Otherwise you might find it difficult to grow, but I love this little flower. Look at that. Bees love it as well. And next to it we've got these anchoosas. So this is bugloss. This is fantastic, nectar rich for bees. Butterflies I think like it as well. And I just directly sowed these into the ground, I think it was in April, and they're already flowering now. So if they like where they are, they should self-seed prolifically. I'm hoping that's what happens, and you can see them just here. Look at that. And you can see another thing that's flowering now is of course the scabious. I think that blue and light pinky colour is so nice. You can see the kind of idea of this little area. So we've still got the yarrow to come, we've still got these heleniums to come over here, and this is the salvia we planted. This is our little budget buy from Homebase, and you can see it next to the phlomis here. Phlomis is starting to go over just a little bit. It got a little bit dry and it probably would have stayed flowering a little bit longer, but you can see these big spikes. I mean, they're still very dramatic when this is not in flower, and that is something to think about. You know, when a plant's not flowering, what else does it give me? And phlomis gives you this real interest all through winter. You don't even have to chop these down. Look at these. This is the Shasta Daisy, again one of our cheap buys from Homebase. Look how cheery that is. Is that not the biggest daisy you've ever seen? And there's so many more to come. You could deadhead these and have them in a vase in your house. I mean, there's so many of them coming, you're not going to miss any. You can see the bee balm just here, about to come out. A little bit earlier than usual, I think. But let's come right through here. We've got the first verbena. We've got the first verbena of the year. This is all just self-seeded. And if you're not familiar with Verbena bonariensis, you should be. It's a garden staple. Bees love it, butterflies love it, really attracts butterflies actually. And if you put it in the right spot, it self-seeds freely as it's done here, and all planted throughout the border. You'll see verbena that I've not even planted. So super budget friendly, considering that, you know, you get quite a few plants from it. Right, so we've still got geums. Now I may have said that this was Miss Bradshaw, but I think it might be totally tangerine. And this has been going non-stop now for, I want to say 6 weeks. And I mean, geums are just so reliable and they flower so prolifically, and you just get these little whorls coming up, so they really do well with grasses. Anything that kind of gives you a foamy sense where these can kind of just come through, give you weeks and weeks of colour. You'll typically find them in the orange and red spectrum. You won't find them in blues. And you can see them. You can see heleniums starting just starting to come out, but that'll be the next video. Cephalaria gigantea, or giant scabious. So those little kind of lilac-y pink ones, well, this is a kind of a very big cousin. That is over 6 feet. You can see the tallest one there. So again, nice and airy. I chose this because it's a way of getting height in a border, and this is in a sense also a driveway. So it's a way of getting height without also kind of blocking some very vital viewpoints that you might need. But again, this is an absolute bee magnet. And I love that kind of vintage, antique, almost cream kind of colour. And you can see as they age, they get this real pincushion type of look. Just awesome. Right, some more geums through there. And then the other Shasta daisy that we planted. More verbena. Bee balm is coming. We've got the toad flax again. This stuff self-seeds, and again, so insect or pollinator friendly. And you can see rather than a salvia here, we've got this self-seeded near the phlomis. And of course our little marigolds that we planted as well down here. These are getting eaten by slugs, so I'm gonna have to come out and do a little slug hunt. But you can see they're getting acquainted, the ones that remain. So we found this old stone trough. It literally has one tiny drainage hole here-ish, and it's about, I'd say, 60% gravel and 40% compost, if I recall. And you can see we've planted these bedding little pansies or violas into here, and they are doing so well. So this always stays really, really dry, and sun to maybe part sun. But look how cheery they are. They couldn't be happier. You can see this little kind of self-maintained woodland behind. I think I'll do a video on that, because that covers a very tricky, or the trickiest area in the garden, which is planting under evergreen trees. You can see our little summer bedding pots, 2 of these. You have the verbena, you have a pelargonium back there, and brachyscum, I want to say this is. Yeah, brachyscum. Almost like a little aster. Look at that. So yeah, pinks, variegation, kind of purple blue, and the whitest of white. I love this combo. And then we've got the new little hot border that we planted. The lavender is still yet to come, but you can see through the grass. I mean, that's why you have grass. Look, through the breeze. Gives you that gentle movement. And through there, we've of course got our dianthus. We've got our calibrachoa still going. Verbena still going. Geranium still going. I mean, these will just keep going on and on and on. Rhodanthenum. And the little dianthus there. So yeah. I did have a few cistus flowers the other day. No, not any today. So I'll try and get a little bit of that. Right, so now to outside. I mean, I think this is Rosa Sunset something or other. I mean, you can see as they come out, you have this real kind of sunset combination oranges and yellows there. But I mean, look at the size. It's glorious. Faint smell in this one. But the first of the patio roses. And the rest of the patio, we still have the Tradescantia. Although none are actually properly out. You can kind of see the blue coming. But this has again been going non-stop for weeks. And this is just in one singular pot. So reliable every year for 4 years now. Keeps coming up, flowers for weeks on end. And again, bees really, really actually like it. Let's go over to the clematis. Again, this is potted up, and you can see it is just clothed in flowers. Even this very flat one up the top there. Huh. But yeah, so you can do clematis, you can do the small varieties in pots, you just have to be careful that they don't get wilt. This one did get it one year. I mean, we can't be here all the time. And it's basically always a race to just keep watering, keep watering, keep watering. And eventually that wilt rises up. And then basically I cut it down. And that kind of does it again, like year on year. So just because your clematis might not be the healthiest doesn't mean it won't look like this. And this is the second of the patio roses to flower. I need an ID on this. Oh, I'll move out of the causing a shadow there. But yeah, the origerons all going. I just let this self-seeds in all the pots. I think it's awesome. You can see it there at the base of the clematis. Potentilla is just starting. Oh, let's focus. I love that color. And again, it's this antique kind of pink, kind of, you know, mottled kind of pink there. So a lot more to come. You can see the little flower heads coming. Potentilla is very free flowering. If you get them a dry sunny spot, they will reward you, and you can kind of start to see this is just the beginning. This will be absolutely clothed in flowers. And again, more origerons. There's some again of these little pansies at the base of the rosemary there. Lavender, this one, English lavender, is just starting to come through. Love the pot, by the way. Check this out, beautiful. The fuchsia, look at this. Doesn't this just remind you of the tropics or Asia? Beautiful. So this flowers profusely, again, for months and months, maybe 3 months, I would say. And if you can have them in a sheltered spot, this one's right near the house, you can see. I cut it right back, and you know, by end of June it is huge. Look, and absolutely covered in flowers. And I've got this sage offsetting it a little bit, so that's culinary sage. But yeah, that's fuchsia. Going into the gravel border, we've got Centranthus, again free flowering. That's probably been going, I've seen it in some gardens since probably late May this year. So again, 4 or 5 weeks, still going. Perovskia little spire, again dry, loves to be dry. So low maintenance. Geranium Solistemon, again free flowering for weeks on end. And the Brachyglottis with Geranium Roseanne in front. Again, put them in sun, and these are some super reliable things. Look at that cheery daisy type flower there, love it. The Dianthus with the Stachys. You can kind of see the Stachys gives you this kind of lilac, and again, bees love it. And I love that pink. I love the pink ruffles with the silver. Just reminds me of like the 1950s, like classic cars for some reason. One thing in this garden that is always super reliable are these daylilies. This came from one massive clump, and I just split them up and I've dotted them everywhere. And I think they are gorgeous. And then you can see in this little area we've got a cistus there. So this will be very similar to what's in the front, this rock rose. We've got Geranium Solistemon behind. And then this blue one with the dark leaves, that's Geranium Brookside. Super free flowering as well. It's my first year growing it. And I just adore it. Look, really kind of pale blue with this smoky foliage. Front we've got Geranium Orion. So kind of like Roseanne. Slightly different though. I mean, the white center is slightly different. The veining is different. If you get really close, you can see it's kind of this almost crimson vein. And yeah, little geranium rock rose kind of area with daylilies in between. Super reliable, super low maintenance. And this Hebe is just starting to open up. This is Geranium Wallicianum, I want to say. And these types of geranium are again, super reliable. They do spread, that you kind of need to keep them under control a little bit, but if you have space in the garden where you really want to suppress weeds, or just fill very quickly with something with this almost shimmering kind of lilac-y pink flower, look towards these geraniums. I mean, there's a geranium for every occasion. Cicerinchiums, so these, again, super free flowering, and there's just kind of a big patch under here. These can be quite invasive in a way, as in you put them somewhere and they'll very quickly form a mass, and they send you these lovely spires. I've seen these. Actually, I think this is probably one of the most underrated plants for a dry garden. These are probably the most drought tolerant. These and sedums. I've never seen a plant cope with 0 water as I have with those two. So if you've got somewhere really dry and really sunny, and again, I've even seen them flower in part shade. You know, look to this. They're tricky to find. They're not so common. This is Iris insata, a Japanese water iris. And I think, well, for me, this is absolutely one of my favorite flowers in the garden. And you can see it comes on these really dark kind of stems. And as the foliage comes through, it's variegated, so it's almost this purpley kind of colour. And I've just planted this in an old pot. What would have been an old indoor pot, has no drainage, just put soil in there, and when it's wet, it's a little kind of bog. And, you know, that's what this likes. You can even grow bog plants or pond plants. If you just, you know, remove the drainage element from a pot, there you are. You can have this. Again, there's some more of this toad flax here. I mean, there's a few of these patches, and they are, you know, the last kind of ones. But again, this has probably been going since the start of May this year. You know, this isn't your kind of meadow cornflower. This is Centaurea. I'll put the right name on the thingy. But again, this is super long flowering, and in this garden it self-seeds prolifically. So I fully expect next year to find a lot more of this. And I'm not going to remove them. I don't weed them out because these are absolutely stunning. I love the bloom. I love the shape. And again, a really good early flowering, super easy to look after thing. And bees love it. It's, you know, great early food for bees. So I'm getting the rose arch kind of in a way that I like. I mean, pruning these things is like Tetris, but I wish you could smell this one. This is so prolific. I mean, it flowers all summer long, about good 8 to 12 weeks, I want to say. It'll have one flush. I chop it all right back, and then it'll second flush. I mean, the second flush won't be, and when I say second flush, I mean, you know, it kind of shoots up a second kind of a wave of flowers. It's not as prolific as the first wave, but I wish you could smell it. It's like a super sweet hops kind of smell. Quite vigorous. I mean, you can kind of see we're going under it. Wahey! And actually, if I reverse through here, you'll see some spent flowers, and you'll see kind of how many there still are. But yeah, the smell, just as soon as you're in this part of the garden, you just get such an air of rose. You can see the little satin flower. I mean, that's the common name for these. I just spoke about them, satin flower. But then there's another rose just here. Foxglove. I just leave I leave these bits at the base of the roses. I mean, they're dug beds, but whatever wants to seed here can seed here, and it's a bit wild. And the thing with letting some stuff self-seed is that typically it's pollinator friendly. And we are about the pollinators here. But yeah, so this one's just starting to go over. And this is the last of the climbing roses. This gives off the most delicious smell. Super decadent deep rose smell of this. And you can see it kind of with the grasses. I mean, technically not flowering, but in a way they are. And this is again Calamogrostis Same one that's out in the front prairie border. I mean, I love this as a grass, super reliable, super easy. But this idea was taken from Oxford. And remember when I say, you know, choose plants or aesthetics or combinations that remind you of places you've been. When I think of Oxford, I think of these, you know, flowing grasses, and I think of cow parsley, and I think of roses. So, you know, that's kind of why these are displayed like this. I love that sense of that grass coming with this kind of red of this rose. I love that as a combo, and I love it as it's blowing in the breeze. And it's somewhere in the garden you want to be, because you get this sound, you get the movement, and especially get the smell carried on the wind. This lavateria is in its second year, and it's probably already about a bit over 5 feet, and you can see how many flowers it shoots up. You know, hibiscus style flower. So if you want to be reminded of, I don't know, Hawaii, this is a go-to. You can make an informal hedge with these, and they do well as a hedge, because, you know, if you cut them right back to the ground, they will shoot up dramatically in 1 year. They just grow and grow. And this is its second year, and you can already see, you know, maybe even 5.5 feet there. And the last of the foxgloves, with the sun coming through behind. I mean, it's quite stately. This found its way into a pot right there, and I just didn't take it out because that's where it wanted to be, and I wanted to see what it would look like, and it looked great. So the last of the foxgloves, I mean, foxgloves have done so well this year. When we were in the Lake District, they were just en masse. Great for bees, great for pollinators, just don't touch them. And I'm going to leave the seeds on and kind of see where it self-seeds next year. I mean, this hypericum has kind of flowered and done its thing already. I mean, they're so prolific. This grows like a weed in this garden. I've stopped pulling it out everywhere. I have let it kind of do its thing, and I'm just a conductor at this point. It does what it wants, and I just kind of put it in a box sometimes, you know. Just needs some management. But apart from that, it gives you these super exotic yellow, really cheery flowers, and then it gives you these berries. I think birds like them, I'm not sure, but, you know, St. John's wort, don't lick it, you know. It will not, that's not how you ingest this for dopamine. Do not eat this plant. A relative of, so this is another hypericum. However, the flowers are much bigger, still gives you that kind of bottle brush shape. And again, this just kind of made its way here, and I'm letting it do its thing. You can see the idea is this foxglove behind. I mean, this was absolutely massive, absolutely huge. So I like this combo, and hopefully we'll see it again next year. But yes, again, super reliable, super easy, gives you this real exotic bright flower. So yeah, not your typical like jungle inclusion into a garden, but I've got it next to the fern here, and you can see like the shape and the color of that leaf and the kind of proliferation of it. It does give you that jungle vibe. Speaking of jungle vibes, here's bonus content. This is my Gunnera. This is, I think, 3rd year, and it is huge. And again, in a pot. This wants to be by a pond, in a river, somewhere. I mean, you're not allowed to plant them in ponds or rivers now. I mean, you're not even allowed to buy them. But here's one. Not technically flowering, but makes a pretty cool bit of content. Look at this leaf. So yeah, speaking of jungles, quintessential. And from one little jungle area to the other. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully that gives you an idea of what is flowering now in a very real way, as opposed to seeing how something is flowering on a nice picture on the internet that kind of gives you a vague month or a vague kind of period, as in flowers in summer. And And it's something that as a gardener I've kind of had to learn, in a sense of, oh, so that flowers in summer and that flowers in summer, that would make a great combination. But then later I find out that one flowers quite early in summer and one flowers quite later in summer. And again, with those other variables to consider, like, you know, how much sun are these things receiving? What's the soil like? You know, not all plants will flower the same amount for the same duration, um, with all those other variables considered. All these variables have such a dramatic impact. So this hopefully gives you a sense, and if you've been following along, you know that we've basically got heavy clay soil. We're almost south-facing, but we do have quite a few shady areas. So hopefully this video gives you a kind of idea as to, let's say, the south of England on clay, what is flowering right now. Leave a like, leave a comment. If you have any questions, you know, I'll try my best always to help. Just leave the comment in the comment box, and I'll get back to you. Thanks. Cheerio.